We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Thursday. We're recording Wednesday night, and we have a frequent guest on tonight, Jace from Texas. It's a very opportune time to have Jace in because there's a lot of bullshit going on down in Texas. And I know Jace has some opinions and some insights that maybe some of us don't know about. So, welcome back, Jace.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I tell you what, between Texas and Minnesota, we're fucking running this. We're running the country right now, aren't we?
Pretty
With
much.
out of both. I saw that the State of the Union last night. Trump's gonna head JD Vance as like deputy of fraud or whatever. Well, he can start with the Trump family,
Yeah,
you know.
no shit.
No, but now he's going to be holding back what Medicaid or something like that from Minnesota. That's not gonna
Yeah,
it's not gonna stand. If SNAP didn't make it, that won't stand either.
I don't think it will stand either, but it is kind of annoying. Anybody that's getting Medicaid is probably not one of the 1% in this country. These are people that are struggling.
Yeah.
And he's doing it to try to own the libtards or to punish Minnesota, much like he's done with ICE. And I think you'll find Minnesotans won't stand for that shit. And it may get uglier than he plans. Um, but you're right; it probably won't stand. Donald Trump does nothing but lose in court. So, but if these people are lose their funding for even a short period of time, it's going to cause them a lot of problems unnecessarily. So, yeah, it's frustrating. And then, of course, you've got all that's going on down in Texas. I don't know where you want to start. Let's start with the sexy one or the scandalous one.
Tony Gonzalez,
Um, Tony Gonzalez, yeah, and he's your rep, right?
yeah, he's my rep. He's in the rep. It's funny. Will Hurd had that position before him, and I remember Will Hurd was still one of the. I guess Will Hurd was one of the last few Republicans I actually voted for. He's that kind of Bush Republican that kind of
Right.
went MAGA and stuff, and he saw the writing on the wall, so he jumped ship. And Tony Gonzalez, he had kind of been a thorn in Trump's side a little bit. He kind of wasn't all in MAGA. Well, lately he's been all in MAGA, and I've been like, wonder what's going on. And then it's like, oh yeah, it's the scandal that's going on. Yeah,
Right.
one of the local news, they had this story broke a while back about, I guess, about this campaign worker, and I think she was a teacher or something for Uvalde or some kind of administrator at Uvalde or something. Well, a lot of people are saying they're just kind of surprised this hasn't gotten much, more, hasn't been a bigger story. But in the age of Trump, I mean, what we had on Trump was a lot worse than what we have on Tony Gonzalez.
Well,
I
true, but just so people understand what happened with Tony Gonzalez, because if you're not in Texas, you may or may not know this. Tony Gonzalez is a representative in Texas. He's alleged to have had an affair with a staffer. I don't know what level of staffer. The important thing to understand about having an affair with a staffer, that is against House rules. That's enough to get your ass kicked out. But there were some text messages released that were pretty
graphic.
disturbing. And the woman who he had the affair with was so distraught, she committed suicide, but in an excessive way. She lit herself on fire and died that way. So now you got all this scandal going on, and people are saying you need to get him to resign or kick him out. And the Republicans are having problems with this. I mean, it seems like pretty cut and dried. You tell them to go away. But when you only have a one seat margin in the House of Representatives, you basically make yourself powerless by sending this guy away. So that's the quandary here. Do they kick him out like they should? Does he resign like he should? Doesn't sound like he's ready to resign. So it's a really fucked up situation. And I can only imagine how Texas is handling this.
Well, I think what they're scared of is they're kind of scared of what they'll get if they get with Paxton runs, because the guy that ran against him before, his name was Brandon Herrera.
Mm-hmm.
His slogan was, guess what, back then? let's go Brandon. So he's somebody too that I think that tried to invoke the Trump name and everything back then. And if you notice about Trump, he hasn't really come out and endorsed Paxton, uh, Cornyn, or the other guy running. I don't know the guy's name. He does. He's not a factor. And and he doesn't. He hasn't endorsed anybody yet. But I saw a. I've seen commercials down here with because Cornyn and you know, Cornyn is running for the Senate, so he'll be somebody I vote for. I mean, he won't be somebody I vote for, but the candidacy is that position. But I've seen ones with Trump. With Paxton. I've seen them with uh, with John Cornyn, and they both act like they got Trump's endorsement. I mean, they're trying to out
Yeah.
Trump. But the thing about it is John Cornyn is kind of running against himself. He wants to run against the Paxton stuff because he links it so bad, but he gives Trump a pass. Trump's a lot worse than Paxton, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
Just what he's done. But what Tony Gonzalez is that he's got this guy named Brandon Herrera that's running against him. That's all going after him now. It's like, oh, we can't have a predator in the House. Well, you got one in the White House, so why not the House? I mean,
Yeah. No.
it's they're trying to go. And honestly, a lot of the Republicans that are supporting Tony are not hypocrites because they don't think it's a thing that should be expelled for because they support the president. But you
Yeah.
got Gordon Gorbert out there that was out there saying, "Oh, he needs to step down." But you're perfectly fine with Trump. They're caught. They're getting to a point to where they're getting caught up to where they try to call somebody something, but the guy who's their boss and their leader, and I call him the Jim Jones of the GOP, which is what he is because he's a
Pretty
cult leader.
much.
And that's what you had last night at the State of the Union. You had all these people, and Trump was lying his ass off, and they were sitting there clapping.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely. We'll get to the State of the Union. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with the Texas Senate thing because it's busy down there. You talked about Cornyn, who is the incumbent senator, Republican senator in Texas. We know that Ken Paxton, who's the attorney general and is an absolute fucking criminal, is going in a primary against Cornyn. And then, of course, we have Jasmine Crockett and James
know,
Tallarico. And the early voting's already started. When is the actual primary election?
the primary election is on Tuesday, the
3rd of March.
3rd of March, yes, sir. So that that
So we're going to know something soon.
yeah, we're gonna know something soon. Democrats are outvoting Republicans right now, so Tony Gonzalez may have a chance. But it's funny. They're defending him on one instance, but they're running commercials against Ken Paxton saying he cheated on his wife. I mean, you can't make this shit up. I mean, it's for me as an ex-Republican voter, but I voted Democrat first. Just want to know that I came back around. I just hear these people that just tell me how godly they are and how much they believe in the rule of law, supporting their Trump endorsed. And I was like, do you not realize it's almost like the Naked Gun? It's almost, I mean, if you would, come from 1980 and come here and you would see Trump on there, everything he's done, and those comics go, well, it's like the wolf telling the sheep, hey, if I get elected, I'll become a vegetarian. I mean, that's exactly what it is down here.
Or
And
if I get to be director of the Defense Department, I'll quit drinking.
yeah, yeah.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, but it's like they're trying, on one hand, they're defending Trump, but on the other hand, they're trying to defend their own. Like you need, and Tony's not backing down in the House, but in the Senate, you have the polls up, and Paxton's ahead of Cornyn, and Cornyn's already coming out there saying, well, if I lose, that's going to be the end of the Republican wall, the red wall. And I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's like on the other hand, you have the Democrats going on right now. And you have a lot of stuff in the Democratic Party that a lot of people, evidently, Jasmine Crockett's considered establishment now if you don't like her. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
And Tallarico, his establishment if you don't like him. You still have that Jill Stein of the party. And she raised her head last night after the freaking, Democrat response. But you still have these people that are still, bringing up, I've heard that Tallarico takes APAC money. I've heard Crockett takes APAC money. I've heard that, I heard all sorts of things, and I don't know. I mean, I voted last week. It took me about 30 minutes. And I want to say I'm optimistic about Texas turning, but I've been the same place I've voted for, and there's always been crowds there. But
Yeah.
Bear County is pretty much blue. So, I mean, I believe they went for Hillary and Kamala. So we're not all degenerates down here.
Well, now you're saying that Paxton is leading Cornyn, and what's weird about that is I think you've told us before that if Paxton runs against the Democrat, whether it be Tallarico or Jasmine Crockett, he doesn't have a chance of winning.
I don't think
Cornyn, on the other hand, would have a chance. So why
correct.
would Texans vote for the guy that has the least amount of chance? I mean, it just seems stupid.
I think, I mean, honestly, I'm going to say this. I mean, I voted for Tallarico. I was, I do love Jasmine Crockett. I think she's a bulldog that we need in Congress. If, or maybe on a presidential appointment in, the cabinet. But and Jasmine Crockett's been fighting the thing on where she's been in the House and the House Oversight Committee, calling Republicans out for their bullshit.
Yeah.
Tallarico has been everywhere. He's been hitting. He's kind of doing what Beto did a few years ago, and Beto came down close to beating Ted Cruz. He's going to places like Tyler. He's going to places. I think Texas Paul was talking about him up there. I think that's up where. I mean, I think Texas Paul is up by Austin, but I mean, I think he was covering and saying he was there. And people like Texas Paul, you're familiar with
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
He's getting called out a lot too because he supports one candidate. And I just see this stuff going on down here with Democrats is that they're attacking each other. And I see a lot of the Tallarico folks saying, well, if she wins, I'll vote for her. But I'm not seeing a lot of the Jasmine Crockett people and supporters saying, well, if he wins, I'll vote for him. So it's almost like a Kamala part two. So that's the one thing that scares me about Paxton because I think the Republicans will get behind him when it's over. They saved his ass in there, but we got to
Yeah.
have the Democrats get there. And I think, you had one poll where Crockett was they a poll came out today. It was on Drudge saying from the Texas Tribune, which is a pretty Texas Tribune's pretty nonpartisan. It's a non-for-profit paper, which they all should be. And they were talking about how she's ahead like by 12 or 14 points. But
Jasmine is?
yeah, Jasmine Crockett.
I've
Which
heard it's the other way around. I've heard that
yeah,
Tellerico was ahead.
Rico released a poll saying that he's like up 4 on her, which has been like an 18% swing. But the Texas Tribune came out saying she's ahead. That's why I don't really think that polls are you come or take polls as you want, and we both know that
Yeah.
because you're asking different groups of people at different times. And nobody does it. And what I've seen though is I've seen a lot of Democrat turn out, but those people voting in these primaries, you don't have to, I mean, you can only vote for one down here, either Republican or Democrat. I think a lot of independents and Republicans are voting in the Democratic primaries because they're so sick of the Republicans. I told you I was thinking about doing that to vote for Paxton, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
Well, do you think some Republicans are voting for somebody that they think is weaker up against their candidate just to prop up, whether it be Jasmine Crockett or Tellerico? The Republicans are voting for them to get what they think is going to be the weaker candidate in the general election?
I I don't see that because I think Republicans are scared to death of a Jasmine Crockett. And I think they don't, and I think that they're intrigued by a Tallarico. So I don't really know if it's an anti-Republican thing or if it's an anti-Republican thing or just want to beat the Republicans because even during Trump's speech last night, there were like two more seats, like one in Pennsylvania flipped or a couple of them flipped. I mean, Democrats are winning stuff they shouldn't win. They're winning
Yeah.
down here. They're winning in, different. I mean, of course, winning in Miami. I mean, they've had a history of doing that.
I don't think that what's going on with the Democrats winning has anything to do with Republicans voting for Democrats. I'm just thinking that Democrats who sat on their ass in 2024 are more motivated, more scared, or more impacted by what's going on. So they're actually getting off the couch and coming out and vote. We're getting, well, you said that there are more Democratic votes in the early voting than Republican votes. I don't know if that's typical or untypical, but I think people are just more motivated to vote against what they've been dealing with all along.
Plus, I don't think Trump's on the ballot, so to speak. So I don't think they come
Yeah,
out as much for him. And plus, that was 2 years ago, and a lot of boomers and Gen Xers have passed. I mean, we
yeah.
we both of us probably don't want to talk about that, but our generation, they're passing away.
They
So
are. They are. Let me ask you this about Jasmine Crockett. You're in Texas, and I don't think it would have a bearing here in Minnesota. But how much of a bearing does it have on Jasmine Crockett the fact that she's black and that she's a woman?
I think it's
How
a
big
bit.
a negative is that for her down there?
I think it's a benefit, more of a benefit because
Really?
I think there's more of a benefit for her is because I don't think the black vote is as much in favor for Tallarico. I think more people, if she wins, and I think that's why you're seeing polls of her being ahead for so much, is because I think the African American voter is looking at her for something. Because Abbott's gone after Harris County in Houston, and that's
Yeah.
one of these population blue populations there are, and that's why he's doing it. So I mean, I think the Democrats have a good shot because if Tallarico wins, he can bring over some evangelicals that have given up on MAGA and independents. And Jasmine may lose that, but she'll get more of the African American vote. So I think people are tired of Cornyn, and I think people despise Paxton. So I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, but I mean, this is just the primary. I mean, the
Yeah.
Democrats are primary, and I don't really think it's, they're voting for the weaker candidate. I think that they both have more positives than negatives. But, Jasmine Crockett is a woman of color. So, and never, and I think a lot of Democrats didn't vote for Kamala because of that fact.
Absolutely. Now you're in Texas. I'm not in Texas. You said you voted for Tallarico.
Yes, I did.
If I was down there, I would vote for Jasmine Crockett,
Yes,
and
sir.
I have a reason for it. Tell me your reason for going with Tallarico, and don't make a mistake here. I like Tallarico. I think he would be a great senator. I think at this stage of his career, he might be a better rep, but we are where we are.
I think Tallarico, he's campaigning more. He's out there and he's addressed and he's told me what he's for. Of course, he's a former school teacher. So that's a big plus for me.
Yeah,
I think that the fact that Trump went after him on Colbert and made CBS pull it, I think he's got a better chance of winning
yeah.
because I think he's got a better chance of winning. But, and I think Jasmine even admitted that, it probably helped him in the polls, them trying to do that. And I've seen a lot, and some people on the left are saying, well, he's a Christian, you can't trust Christians. That's not true. I voted for Christians before. I voted for Biden. Biden's a Christian. I have no
It
problem.
depends on if you're. It depends on if you're talking about a real Christian or a fake Christian. Somebody like Tallarico is a real Christian. He abides by what the Bible says and what Jesus said and all that stuff. You got the fake evangelicals who just make up rules to benefit themselves and then thump the Bible to justify it.
But you have
That's
a
the
lot,
problem. They give the Christians the bad name,
but,
and you have to decide which is which.
but you have a lot of Christians that won't vote for a man of faith. A lot of Christians called out Biden for that. A lot of leftists called out Obama for it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's their opinion. You can't, I don't have that problem. And, I'm agnostic,
Yeah.
I've seen what the guy, he wants to fight for education, which I think is what Texas really needs down here. And frankly, and I don't mean to piss anybody off, but I haven't really heard a message from Jasmine really about what she's going to do. Her job in the house, God bless her, is just so she's got to put up with with that freedom, and that freedom caucus. And I think it's a goddamn shame that her district went away because we need her in the House, I think more than the
Right.
Senate. And I think
Well,
that, I haven't really seen what she's done. I mean, maybe I haven't paid much attention, but I also heard, I think she had a deal with Colin Allred because she supposedly joined the Senate campaign at the last day to register. So, I mean, that's nothing against her. It's politics or whatever, but I think Colorico's been on there and I've changed my mind. I mean, I've changed my mind on this, but if she wins, I will vote for her.
yeah. Well, Jasmine Crockett, I've heard a few things with Jasmine Crockett, and it sounds like she's trying to play both sides sometimes. And I love Jasmine Crockett, but I think too many people the campaign are getting in her ear. You got to do this. You got to be safe here. You got to be safe there. The reason I would vote for Jasmine Crockett is the same reason why I'm angry about Abigail Spanberger, the governor of Virginia, when she gave a response to the State of the Union. Um, if you want a politician's politician, like a Joe Biden or somebody like that, that's fine pre 2015. But we're in a different world, a different parallel universe. We're in the mud fighting now. It is a gang war, so to speak. And we need warriors to do it. Now, that's not to say that Talarico doesn't have the ability to fight, but he does it in a different way. When you got a bully yelling in your face, you need to match that energy and slap the taste out of their mouth and knock them on their ass. Somebody like Jasmine Crockett probably will never get in that fight because she's the exact kind of person they don't want to deal with. Bullies don't want to deal with somebody who's going to fight back, and they know she's a fighter. Um, I don't even care right now about the substance of what her policies are because we got to take the first step first. We got to beat them at their own game. We got to beat them down and kick them the fuck out of here. And then we can worry about the policies as to what needs to be done. Because no matter who gets voted in, it's going to be a long time down the road as things get fixed. So I just need to win the fight now, get the bad people out, and then we can start to pressure the Jasmine Crockett's or the Democrats in general to do what we want to do. But we got to do first things first.
And I agree with you on that. And I think Tallarico's the man for that. I
Okay.
think do that. Like I said, I've done my research on him. I looked at him, and he does it a little bit nicer than she does. You
Yes, definitely.
know, but I don't think it'll be any less effective than hers. And I think that, I love her to death, and I just think I just hope the Republicans lose big time in Texas because of this redistricting bullshit. Because I think people, even Republicans, and that may be another reason why they're voting for Democratic primaries, because you go in there, they ask you which one you're going to vote in, and you could be a lifelong Republican and say Democrat. But
Right.
also, I think the Republicans saw this coming years ago because they took something off in Texas, and I don't agree with this because I think if it's your vote, it's your vote. They don't let you vote straight line party anymore. They used to have a thing. And what's stupid about that is when I voted Republican, I voted for all Republicans. There
Right.
was maybe a Democrat or two that I didn't vote for. And now when I vote for Democrats, I make goddamn sure I vote for every damn Democrat except Henry Cuellar, but he's not in my
Yeah.
district. So I mean, I mean, I'll vote for that, but I guess I guess I get on a list somewhere because I get more Democratic mailers than I do Republicans.
Really.
And it's before I used to be on Will Hurd's call list. I think that motherfucker called me like once a week. And I was just like, I can't wait for him to be gone. And now I read something in Texas. I read something in Texas Monthly And it kind of gave me a little bit of like, optimism, but also a little bit of like, shit, she's right. It was an article about they're saying the Democrats are going to miss Ken Paxton. And I was a curious, and Texas Monthly's pretty good. They're pretty good about down the middle. They're
Right.
I don't think they're Democrat or Republican. I think they call out the bullshit off. They give these things called the bum steer awards, and they've, given it to Greg Abbott a few times where you're just, you're a bull without balls. And they said is like, well, now you have Chip Roy running for the Attorney General. And you're going to miss Paxton because Paxton was such a dumb fuck, pretty much. Now you're going to have, and I don't think Chip Roy is much smarter because he actually worked for him. But
Yeah, I
he's
don't really either.
may get somebody more competent in that position than Ken Paxton because Ken Paxton's like Trump. He'll sue just to sue, and 9 times out of 10, he'll get kicked out of there. But now you may get somebody up there competent in your attorney general, and I'm hoping, well, maybe I do vote for Chip Roy because I don't think he's much smarter.
No, I don't think he's much smarter. Do you honestly believe? I mean, we've talked about this before prior to the 2024 election, and you were always pretty dubious about whether anything could turn blue based on what you've seen. Do you think that with what's going on now, do you think Donald Trump has destroyed it enough that people will have had it enough that you might get a blue senator? Because I can imagine that's going to cause a lot of people freaking out if Texas ends up with a Democratic senator.
And I know a lot of people don't, and I mean, a lot of people don't take what, the Democrats to win are going to have to turn out big time
Right.
because supposedly, and I know a lot of people laugh at him when he said this, is Ken Paxton said something about throwing out 200,000 votes for Beto when he ran against Ted Cruz.
Right.
And if the Democrats show up and they vote in big numbers like they did for Biden, they can't throw the election. They didn't do that for Trump. That's why she lost. And there could have been shenanigans here and there. But if we
Yeah.
would have shown up and voted for Biden like we did, for Kamala like we did for Biden, we wouldn't have this problem. So
Right.
that's why I'm saying that I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm even feeling pretty good about governor because Gina Hinojosa, who I voted for as well, she's running against Abbott and she's within striking distance.
Really.
But I just don't know because I don't know about Greg Abbott because he's the same guy that ran for reelection after the same year, the election year after Uvalde and after the power grid, and he still won reelection. So they
Yeah.
got they got to do that, but you have a lot of good old boys down here. And and honestly, too many of them down here are too stupid to realize they're getting screwed. And what's hurt Trump a lot is he's lost Hispanics. And if Republicans stay home and Democrats show up, Democrats may win a few seats. That's exactly what Republicans have always counted on. Democrats not showing up and their voters showing up. Because you're talking about early voting, it's been a history. Republicans vote early, especially down here, because you have a lot of, winter Texans down here, so to speak, old farts.
Yeah.
I mean, and they vote. The younger ones show up more, but you've had more blue starting out early. And this is just the primary. And it's like I said before, yeah, we can show up for the barbecue Beto's having, but are you going to stand in line like I did, 30, 45 minutes to vote for him? That's what's important.
Well, it is. It is. What's kind of interesting is a lot of people in Texas or Republicans throughout the country, they benefited by siding with Donald Trump, and that helped them get elected in power and that sort of thing. But now the tide is turning. A lot of these same people that counted on and were supported by Donald Trump and helped them to get elected, now they're starting to realize how things get turned around. Some of
Yeah.
these people are now going to lose their positions for the very same reasons that they won their positions because they're still standing with Donald Trump. That's why I don't understand why the Republicans aren't saying, wow, fuck, he's not helping us anymore. Maybe we ought to abandon him, but they haven't yet. But I think in this primary and in this midterm, there's going to be some eyes opening up, and Donald Trump will become a huge liability henceforth.
One more thing about Tony Gonzalez. Us being this close to the primary, I don't see him dropping out. I mean, he would have dropped out already.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Republicans, you had one Republican, I don't know who he was, but he asked him if he supported him today, and he said, "Well, yeah, we got to keep that seat." And I think the Republicans may also, having Lowen Boebert and all them come out and say, "Hey, he needs to step down," just because they know he's not going to step down. I
Yeah, you're
mean,
probably right.
they're doing that. Well, it's so close. Tuesday's the election day, and early voting's been going on, and I mean, like I said, Democrats have been showing up. So it ought to be interesting to see the Tallarico and Crockett. I mean, I'll be interested to see. I know how he'll act, but I'll be interested to see how her group does. And I know that, like you're right, it's not important about what they stand for. But when you go out there and you talk to a voter and you go out there and you campaign, but then again, Jasmine was, I've seen her on threads, taking pictures of, voting places too. So she's out there. I mean, I'm not saying she's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a choice. I mean, I think this race, and a lot of people have said that too. What's so sad about this race is you have good fucking candidates running against each other, and one of them is going to lose.
Yeah. I mean, we had the same thing with Adam Schiff and Katie Porter running for the Senate seat. Katie Porter was a strong rep, and then now she's gone. She's running for governor, and um, she was an important part of the House of Representatives. Um, I think the way you got to look at, because of where we are right now, everybody talks about policy and taxes and all this stuff, but we're so far gone right now. Our main focus is to eradicate as many Republicans as we can, because even by getting the Democrats in there, that doesn't fix anything. We've got to fix things after that. We've got to take charge of the big problem, and that's getting rid of Republicans. And then once the Democrats are in, people like you and me and other people around the country are going to have to bear down on the Democrats and say, now do not fuck this up. Do not get lazy. Do not rest on your laurels. And if you do, we're coming at you just like we came after the Republicans. We have to take it a step at a time. We can't expect to fix everything in one fell swoop. It's just not going to happen. Donald Trump has trashed this country so bad, it's going to take some work to get it back.
Yeah, and I think he's damaged your Democrat Republican Party a lot because
Oh, yeah.
you have some of them that left before when he got whiff of the running for president. I mean, I remember watching The Apprentice and just thinking he was just such a d-bag.
Yeah.
I remember my grandmother gave me a book on his, like Art of the Deal or something. Not Art of the Deal, it was this other one about, and it was like almost like how you get those things as a kid, those paint by numbers. It kind of like those self-help books. I tell you, the only self-help book I ever read was by Stedman Graham. He was Oprah's boyfriend. He's about the only one
Right.
who's shit. I read Tony Robbins, I read Trump's, and it's just like that. Wake up one morning, beat the other guy there. It's like, well, I know fucking that. But Stedman actually had steps. And he had steps. I mean, doing that, I mean, I just should have skipped the chapter on how to land a rich ass girlfriend. He obviously got that down. But I mean, it's like Trump was just that kind of I think we talked about that before. He's like that, that wrestling president, that it's you have like, Hacksaw Jim Duggan against the Iron Sheik, USA, USA, Iran, Pooey. I mean, and it's so fake and so real, and you look at it and you look at it and you kind of look at the people that are running this thing and you look at, I know we keep going back to the State of the Union, but it's like you had a lot of Democrats that stood their ground. You had a lot of them that didn't show up, but you also had Democrats that, Trump is, and what he's getting now is he's getting pushback. I mean, all that shit, they're all pissed off about what they did to him last night. Did they not remember who was that guy that yelled liar to Obama? Who was that,
And Biden.
when Barbie and what Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lowen Bobart were, heckling Biden?
Yeah.
I mean, now they're all upset, and Mike Johnson, your boy, Goes, well, I could have thrown them out. You couldn't fucking catch a fucking cold, you pussy.
No, no, he couldn't have. Well, let's talk about the State of the Union because that was the big news. And Donald Trump comes out, really no surprises. I mean, it was appalling. It was horrible. It was embarrassing. It was boring. It went an hour and 48 minutes. And in those hour and 48 minutes, he didn't talk about the Epstein files in the least, in spite of the fact that we had Epstein survivors in the crowd, in spite of the fact that Rashida Tlaib yelled out, "What about the Epstein files?" Now, here's a guy that says those Epstein files have absolved him. No reason in the world not to talk about them, especially since there's such big news these days. But he categorically avoided talking about it because it just goes back to this cover up. Was there anything that surprised you about what he said or how he said it during his State of the Union? Because I wasn't surprised. I was laughing uncomfortably on some of the stuff I saw, but it's not surprising in the least.
I think what surprised me is how he didn't go crazy. He didn't he stuck to the prompter as long as he could.
Yeah, he did.
Somebody got to him and says, "Don't talk about Epstein and don't talk about ICE because both
Right.
those are killing you right now." But he's like, you ever seen that movie Heat with Robert De Niro and Al
Yeah, a
Pacino?
long time ago. Yeah.
I had never seen that movie, and those are like two of my favorite actors, and I especially love Al Pacino or Robert De Niro right now nowadays.
Yeah.
I had never seen that movie before, and then with Val Kilmer dying, I watched it over the weekend, and of course 1995 seems everything seems so fucking dated.
Yeah.
Like there's this guy running out on the runway of the airplane. Back in the day, I'd be like, oh, that's nothing. Pre 9/11, of course.
Right.
There's a part in the movie, and I'm going to spoil it for you. 30 years, 31 years. So sorry here. There is a part in the movie where De Niro, John Voight, helps him get away. So they pulled off this heist. Val Kilmer gets away. This Tom Sizemore gets killed. So he's got the girl, and he's going to an airport to escape, and he's got the money. Pacino's chasing him and saying he's got it. He ain't gonna do it. But Robert De Niro could not help himself. His character could not help himself. He had to go back and kill the two people that set him up to where the cops were there. And he had to kill them both, and he got busted for it. That's the way Trump is. You give him this roadmap, and he can't stay on target. He's got to attack. So he goes out there and he projects everything. He said it last night. The Democrats can't win an election unless they cheat. What is up in the Senate right now? The SAVE Act.
Yeah.
What is all this stuff that he talks about? He's still talking about 2020 being a freaking. I can't fucking remember 2020. I mean, that was 6 fucking years ago. I mean, the only 2020 I know is the one on ABC. I don't even think about that year anymore.
Well, and the thing is, you have to understand the mentality of Donald Trump and the narcissistic mentality. The idea of a loss or being wrong is impossible for them to comprehend. And when they've been put in a position to have lost, that just sticks in their head. And they got to go back and prove they were right because they cannot be wrong. And that is the problem. That's one of the fatal flaws that Donald Trump has. He focuses so much on 2020. He's really not focusing on what's important right now. And that will ultimately kill him. But in that State of the Union, I don't know if you noticed this. I didn't watch the whole State of the Union because I'd just eaten dinner and I didn't think it was wise. But I did see plenty parts of it, and I saw commentary about it. But if you looked at that State of the Union when it first started, Donnie was running at a pretty good clip. I mean, he was talking fast. He was kind of frenetic or frantic when he was doing that, and that told me a couple of things. First of all, at 9 o'clock at night, a guy who's prone to sundown, he was no doubt, as they used to say back in the day, hyped up on a bunch of goofinalls. He had some stuff running through his system. But I also think he was nervous as shit because he knew all the stuff that could come back on him. So he started out really fast and frenetic, doing what narcissists do, trying to overwhelm, trying to intimidate people. And he started out, eventually, he slowed down a little bit. And then he seemed kind of lackadaisical. He seemed kind of low energy. His voice was raspy as opposed to what it normally is. Um, he went through some things in that hour and 48 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing they can do is they can whoever running the DNC can go there and clip stuff on there. He can clip stuff on there saying Democrats can't win elections. I got news for you. If the Republican Party was like the Republican Party was back in the day, they don't try to attract new voters.
No,
They're on for their own people.
right.
They don't, they're not trying to, I mean, when you see somebody who's an independent or even somebody that's voted for Democrats in the past, there's a lot of Democrats that voted for Reagan. There's, as much as kind of like hardliners we are, there's a lot of people, and I know it pisses people off when they say they're independents, or well, you don't stand for nothing. No, that's the way they are. And, I get that. But he's calling them out as well. He's attacking that party. But there might be somebody like, Mark Kelly. He's a freaking, war hero.
Yeah,
And you're sitting there and you're telling him, hey, you can't win unless you cheat. What's that saying to our veterans? I know he thinks they're suckers and idiots, but
right.
they're not doing it. Republicans aren't doing anything to bring in younger voters or bring in independents. And you even have Nick Fuentes, the upstanding, citizen of the year he is, saying he hopes MAGA dies. I mean, this is a Nazi, a self-admitted Nazi. And that's, and Laura Loomer has even called the Republicans out saying, you have a Nazi problem
Yeah,
because that's who they're attracting. They're attracting that, and there is a lot of them here, they're, and, honestly, the way I look, you talk about you looking MAGA. I mean, people come up to me and they just, they automatically, and they get to know me, they know things are different. But they think that I got the shaved head and whatever. It's like, no, we don't all freaking, some of us have a brain.
yeah,
If they got a problem and he goes after Democrats like that, that's something Democrats can use. Look, Trump thinks you're a fucking idiot if you vote for this guy. I mean, there's a reason, and the Republicans, like I talked about earlier, did away with straight line voting. I think that's stupid because
yeah,
I think if you say you liked Trump, but you like this Democrat, wouldn't you vote straight line Republicans of Trump? But it's going to split up the party. But I think they saw that because they saw that the Democrats were going to start wiping them out and the Democrats could pick up more. But I think
yeah,
they shot themselves in the foot, so to speak, because I think that, because Trump's doing that because he's desperate and he knows and Mike Johnson said it. If the Democrats win the House, just the House, the Senate is in play now. Trump's
yeah.
presidency, they know what's coming, and that's probably why they told Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem to sit this one out. So who's it? I forget her name, but Pat Summerall's daughter. She probably got up there and says, "You talk about this," and they probably gave him a script that he followed. But you also notice is that they had interruptions where he recognized people. That was probably a trick that they put in there because he didn't spend all the time talking about himself.
Yeah, you're talking about Susie Wiles. Interesting thing about Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles is the chief of staff, who's basically in charge of the people that work for the president. She's the boss, so to speak. Donald Trump's the figurehead. She's kind of the boss. Did you know that she is Pat Summerall's daughter? That was interesting to me. Pat Summerall, the famed football player and sports announcer. He's long gone now.
He loved the
But
Cowboys.
Susie, he's
Just
what?
saying. He loved the Cowboys back in the day. Jim and John Madden
Yeah,
back good.
yeah, he did. And he was a great sports reporter. I didn't know him as a football player because I was too young. But the thing about it is they are trying to, and this is typical of the Republicans. At the last minute, they try to adjust because they think they can pull people back in. I don't think they realize how far they've gone over into the rabbit hole, and they aren't going to have much. They aren't going to find it very easy to pull people back. Somebody asked me, they said, since he's sundowning, since he's got dementia, why would he go an hour and 48 minutes? I know why I think he went an hour and 48 minutes and why he was pumped up with goof and alls, if you will. I personally think that there's two things that come into play with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was going to try to prove that he's healthy and strong and has mental acuity. So by going an hour and 48 minutes, he shows stamina and that he can think straight for an hour and 40 minutes. Sorry, it didn't work. Secondly, it goes to his personality, his narcissistic personality. He thinks that he can talk his way out of anything, persuade anybody to believe anything he says. All he needs is time to talk to them. So now he was trying to sell the fact that economy is great and everybody's living in a wonderful world in spite of what they're experiencing. But I would not be surprised if he thought he accomplished something. He's not even self-aware enough to understand that he failed miserably.
Yeah, I agree with that. He thinks that he's the one that knows everything. That's why you hear him that he's got to be the loudest one in the room. But you
Right.
still have those people that believe him because there was something that came out. I was reading on Facebook today, and somebody said something about Trump being a predator, and this guy literally wrote on there, "Where's your proof?" You still have those people out there that just nothing will ever be enough for them.
If you
You know,
show them the proof, then they'll discount the proof. So it's not worth arguing with them about.
well, he's told you that before, not to believe your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember in his first term when he was talking about bleach during COVID, and I
Right.
literally had my ex-boss tell me that he didn't say that, and
Right.
I literally said, says, well, that's what they told you. It's like, no, I heard him say that, and it's like, I mean, and this guy's not dumb. I mean, not, he's very smart, and I used to work for him, at least book smart, I guess.
Yeah.
But they have it to where the Republicans have gotten the thing to where the fake media, because it started with Rush Limbaugh and everything, the liberal media and stuff like that. I mean, I miss that old liberal media when it was, unpartisan. But and it's something like that that you have all this stuff and they'll still believe him.
Yeah.
And you're going to have that people, but you're also getting to the part now where his disapproval rating is 60%. So that tells you
That's,
right now he's lost a lot of so-called MAGA too,
oh,
because
yeah.
you know, you know, you can like something, but if they're the reason why your kids can't eat or you're starving, I mean, of course, down here in Texas, grandma can freeze, still vote for the guy, in
Yeah.
charge. But, maybe nationally the Republicans are a little bit smarter than the ones down here.
Well, and I think if any Democrats think that they can persuade Republicans to vote for him, no matter how badly Donald Trump is done with this country, I don't think that's what's going to happen. You know better about Republicans, especially people in Texas. I think if people are upset about what Donald Trump has done or the Republicans have done, they just won't vote. They
I
can't bring themselves to vote for a Democrat.
Yeah, they won't vote for a Democrat or they won't show up. And I think that's why I'm saying that more Democrats need to show up
Right.
because the Republicans aren't showing up. The Republicans are not showing up or they're voting in the Democratic primaries. But I don't think they have a reason like before. We don't have a Ken Paxton on our side. If anything, I would think the Republicans would be higher because Democrats would be crossing over to make sure he's on the ballot. But
Right.
I really, I mean, I kind of thought about that. And and it's well, that's illegal. No, it's not illegal. You can vote for the fucking who you want to fucking vote for. And there's been a lot of talk down here also about, Texas voter rolls and stuff and how that was submitted to check your. I haven't seen any of it. I mean, I was fine. And and the mailings I get somehow, I've donated to Act Blue and all that stuff. So, they know who I am. So, I mean,
Yeah,
if I'm a real kind candidate to somebody that used to vote, for that, but, doesn't anymore. I mean, they have ways of doing that, but I mean, when they try to, when people get freaked out about stuff, there's not going to be an election or there's like all this stuff like that. I mean, it's just you're buying into the Republican scare tactics. Republicans, and I can remember this too, they know a lot of people get compliant and they don't vote. And I think a lot of the ways the Democrats are in such trouble with that is because they got compliant. They got compliant and they just, they sat on their laurels.
yeah.
So, people like you and, creators are going to have to be on them when they win because just because you
Trust
win
me, I will.
barbecues every week, you got to get down nut cutting time, as you would say. I
I
love
stole that from somebody too, by
I
the way.
stole
I
it from
didn't
you.
make
I
that
say it
up.
all the time now. So,
I stole that from somebody, and I don't even remember who. Uh, but I brought up we had the State of the Union. It was a shit show. Donald Trump went off page a couple times um, when Ilhan Omar said something, and he got shaken up a little bit. He didn't like people talking about the Epstein files. Rashida Tlaib said something about what about the Epstein files? That was a mortal wound to Donald Trump because he didn't want anybody talking about that. Um, he shamed Ilhan Omar, and Ilhan Omar said, "But you killed American citizens," and he called her shameful. And then after it was all said and done, today, this is Wednesday, he comes out and he says Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Robert De Niro should be deported. Now, Robert said something too about him being shameful and stupid and whatever, but Robert De Niro's been doing that for a while. But here's a president of the United States steps up and said these people should be deported, as if he has the power to deport anybody for any reason. And that's so childish and so it makes him look dumb when he says stuff like that, and he thinks it makes him look strong.
well, he knows that Robert De Niro wasn't the actual little kid that came over in Godfather 2, right? And he has to send him back to Italy, and
I don't know that he doesn't know
you
that.
think that he's Acto Vito Corleone? Does he actually think that he came over here and he saw Ellis Island? Does Trump see that? Because I was trying to think about. I mean, Robert De Niro was born here, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was born here.
I'm thinking, okay, so
His folks were born here.
yeah, and he didn't talk about ICE and stuff. You know why? Because a lot of people are pushing back on these concentration camps that they're building, and that's exactly what they are.
Well, they absolutely are.
And it's like now he's letting the cat out of the bag that they want to deport U.S. citizens. It's bad enough they say that, they sit there and, their life sucks, so they want to blame somebody, and it's easy to blame the minority. And, there was somebody, I guess a couple, it was some couple, I mean, this happens a lot, but they were like both pro MAGA and they both got deported. And it's like, and I think one of them was a US, something happened. There's so much stuff that we're not hearing about. I mean, you hear
Yeah.
about it like, what you do and like Midas Touch and the real liberal media. You hear about that, but I think what people ought to be scared of is the concentration camps. Because this country has a history of doing that, especially with the Japanese. You ever listen to George Takei talk about it, how he
Yeah.
and his family were in one, and these were U.S. citizens.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the Republicans; they're so out of their fucking mind about immigration that he didn't talk about it last night, and that was something he won big on because he and talked the Republicans into not sponsoring the bill so he could have a win against Biden. Well, there was and I know this, she's one of your favorites, Ann Coulter.
Yeah. Love
They're
her.
talking about saying that how, second generation immigrants shouldn't be allowed to be president. And everybody called her out on that. I was like, that's what fucking Trump is.
Yeah.
And it's something about that. It's about these people like her. and this is why I don't trust Republicans, and this is why, yeah, I'm watching the Midas Touch and Rick Wilson and stuff like that now. But when Democrats get in power, rest assured they will go after Democrats. It will go back to the way it was. They're working to get rid of Trump, but they want to rebuild this Republican Party, which I think should just burn. It should just, go
Absolutely.
the way of the Whigs. And you're talking from, a former one who's never going back. But she said that, and you see her, and she's attacked Trump on a lot of shit. And then you see Geraldo, who was on with I saw Midas Touch was playing this. One of their guys was on there, and they were so pissed off how Midas Touch was running the opposite of the State of the Union. And he
Yeah.
goes, "Well, how can you do this? This is when you're supposed to respect the president." And this kid was like, God, he had to be early 20s. And Geraldo and Cuomo were attacking him, saying, "Well, you're not old enough to remember this." He goes, "I'm old enough to remember January 6th when Trump pissed on you talk about the peaceful transition of power. Trump kicked that out the window. But now you
Yeah.
want us to go back?" So you have people that attack Trump like Geraldo and Coulter, Chris Cuomo. That's the one that's on TV, right? It was his brother or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're still back there with him. And so
Yeah.
that's
I don't trust any of those folks. They may talk shit about Donald Trump, and
they
it's
may
only
be our
because they're trying to
allies.
cover their asses.
They may be our allies now, but rest assured, a lot of those people put somebody like Trump in power.
Well, exactly. And you can talk all the things you want to talk and you can say all the right things right now, but you'll never be my friend. If you supported Donald Trump in the first place, you're irredeemable. I don't want to hear from you.
Even
There's
if you
just
call
no coming
yourself,
back from this.
even if you call yourself a Republican now, I just cannot take you seriously because
No,
it's the Republican Party is not the party of Lincoln and Reagan, and both of them
no,
had
it's not.
problems or whatever. But those two people didn't sell America out. They fucked Reagan fucked America a lot. But I've always said this too. A lot of the shit that Reagan gets blamed for, he had a Democratic Congress. A lot of them went along with it. So, it may piss off Democrats, but that's the fucking truth. A lot of the
Well,
shit through they put squarely on Reagan, but he would never pass it without a Democratic Congress. They let him get away with it.
and I've said this before too. I don't call myself a Democrat. I don't even call myself an independent. I'm just me. Because I don't join clubs. I will vote almost completely Democrat at this point, only
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they seem to give me the closest way out of the bullshit we're in now. But once the Democrats are in power, I'm going to be calling out those people too, because there are some bad people or people that are working against us in the Democratic Party. And that brings me what I was talking about before. We had the State of the Union. It was a shit show. Nobody's surprised by that. But then we have the response from the Democrats, and who they picked to do it was Abigail Spanberger, who was the recently elected governor of Virginia, right?
Okay.
And she's a fine politician. She won by 15 points, surprisingly. She did a great job, but she did the response, and I debated whether even to make this mention because I thought I'd piss Democrats off by saying what I'm going to say. Um, but then I saw um, a video that Hawk did about her response,
Mm.
and I was surprised that he and I were on the same page because there's a lot of things about Hawk I don't necessarily agree with. A lot of people don't like him. Some people do
That's
like him. I don't listen to his stuff too much because it takes too long to get to the point. But he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, and
yeah.
he has some good points sometimes. I listened to that video, and he and I were in agreement. And then I thought about pissing off Democrats, and I thought pissing people off is kind of my thing. I've always thought that was my charm, if you will. But so I did it anyways. And what I'm saying about this is the response she did would have been a perfectly good response prior to 2015. It was a good political response, made some good political points. But in this era, in this time, I've said before, Democrats need to be fucking warriors. They need to fight. like Hawk said, she could have brought up Renee Good. She could have brought up Preddy. She could have brought up uh, Liam Ramos. She could have brought up all the things that are going bad and shoved it in Donald Trump's face. Instead, she chose to take the high road. Now, I'm not even blaming her for this because I don't think she wrote that speech. I think somebody from the Democratic Party wrote that and said, "You deliver it just the way we wrote it." And I think that that take on it is the wrong take. That's a Chuck Schumer take that isn't going to work anymore. You bet if you're running for a Democratic office, you better be a motherfucking angry, tough warrior motherfucker. And that's why I like Jasmine Crockett because I don't care about her policies. She is a warrior and she will get in your face and fight. And in order to beat these bullies, I think you need to match that energy.
Well, you can tell it was by the DNC because it was somebody that was safe. They
Yeah,
wouldn't do Jasmine Crockett or Tellerico up there that's running for office.
right.
Better way to do that than put a Tallarico or a Crockett. I mean, honestly, I think Jasmine Crockett would probably deserve it more because, what happened with CBS, put her out there, give her a boost or whatever.
Yeah.
But you need people like that are she won. Virginia's been always kind of blue, haven't they? It's not like
Yeah,
it's
kind of.
not like,
Yeah, pretty much. Kind of. Was
so
Youngkin there before though? He was a Republican.
who?
Youngkin was she's the previous governor?
That's true. But I mean, it was a safe bet. Let's go with the Hakeem Jeffries pick. I mean, let's not go with, AOC. Let's go with somebody that, you know, that did that. They should have put a Crockett up there or, somebody up there that's running for it that, hey, we're focusing on Texas. Why don't you have somebody that's trying to defeat Trump?
Well, yeah, and they took a safe bet, and that's the wrong play for Democrats. They take safe bets in 2024, and it didn't play out for them. They want to be riding the middle point and trying to keep everybody happy and not be too crazy. They don't want to be outrageous and they don't want to be confrontational. But let me give you a little fucking tip. The guy who won the 2024 presidential election was outrageous, was confrontational, was in your face. Learn a fucking lesson. You don't have to be bad like he is, but you're going to have to fight at that level if you hope to win. Kamala was held back in saying what she wanted to say. She was limited because she couldn't talk opposite of Joe Biden. She was held back, and in turn, Tim Walz was held back by Kamala Harris's people. If you let the people be the people, and even if they go off the page a little bit, you really need to do that now. You need a fighter right now. You don't need a proper politicians because proper politicians ain't fucking winning.
That's why I say that they should have put a Crockett or, somebody up there that, is fighting for this stuff. Put them in a state you have looking at red. But I tell you what the DNC is, if the Democrats win Texas, it's going to be despite of the DNC because they probably don't like either candidate right now. And I'm just being honest because they probably think that they're not their guy.
Yeah.
They're not Colin Allred. That's their guy. And they said with Colin as well is if you got upset about what Tallarico supposedly said, as much as if you ran your campaign as well as you got upset with as much fire in that, you may have beat Ted Cruz. And they
Yeah.
say a lot of the with him saying that because he's still bringing it up, that a lot of the Jasmine Crockett voters are voting for his opponent in the primary. So it's like turnaround's a bitch. But yeah, I mean, they should have had somebody out there. They didn't go with the safe bet. It's kind of like with Hakeem Jeffries one time. Didn't he deliver like a rebuttal to one of them or something like that? And that was
Yeah,
like
I
a
think you
little
did.
bit. But back then, that was we had he had we had promise with him. But then again, Pelosi and them had him back. I got a question for you, Mike. That's something that I don't know if you've heard about, and it said something about how you don't hear like you don't hear people like the Democrats like is it Newsom and like, Kamala? I don't know. It was just saying something. They're not saying anything about the Iran deal because they take APAC money.
Right.
Because all this stuff is, it's pretty much Israel's wish list for us to attack Iran. I mean, we can say that, hey, we're doing this, but you see the people that are supporting it, like Ted Cruz, fundamentalist Christian that believes the rapture and that, the Israelites are God's only people. So, I mean, when I see that, that's what scares me. But I mean, is that true? I mean, is that something you've heard about them? Not, I mean, that seems kind of makes me lose a lot of respect for them.
Yeah. Yeah. With the Democrats, it's almost like they know they're going to fuck up and they know it's going to be damaging. And they just stand back and say, well, if they fuck up, then we'll win in 2026. Um, I heard a report online. I don't know that it's true, but it could be. I'm just going to throw it out there. If somebody knows, please let me know. But there was a report, it was probably on TikTok, and I'm trying to remember who said it. But there was talk that Marco Rubio met with the Gang of Eight, like today,
Schumer said
uh,
something.
meaning Wednesday.
Yeah.
That would suggest that maybe we're getting closer to the ultimate attack of Iran. I think Donald Trump has his mind set on doing it regardless. I think that's going to be his fatal flaw. It's going to not work for him. The only sad thing about it is there'll probably be Americans that die, certainly some Iranians that die. Um, and I think the person behind this attack isn't even Donald Trump. I think it's Benjamin Netanyahu. He's got some leverage or something over Donald Trump, and he's forcing and pushing him to do it. And Donald Trump is easily manipulated, as we know. But if Donald Trump goes in and bombs Iran, that may be the final line for people in this country and even the Republican Party.
That'll be World War III because you're going to have Russia involved. You're going to have, I mean, because yeah, we're on, yeah, he's got, he's buddy buddies with, Russia, but you got what, China, Russia, those two get together, they can wipe us out. I mean, it's just, I mean, we like to think that, we still got Tom Cruise in the cockpit, but more like we got Ken Paxton in the cockpit. I mean, we've gone from like fucking, Maverick to Goose, and nothing against
Right.
Goose, but he is a goose. Yeah, if he does that, because I've seen that too, and they say a lot of, and I see this and it pisses me off. A lot of the Democrats could not vote for Kamala because of Biden's stance with the Palestinians.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do you like it now?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like she said, let me get in there. Let me forge my own thing. But they didn't give her a chance. And now they're going to come here with, yeah, because if they attack Iran, I mean, they got agreements with and I don't and it's just another thing about owning the libs. We had a fucking agreement that Obama worked out with them that they're trying to do now. But no, it had Obama's name on it, so he wanted to piss it away. So guess what? We're back to where we fucking started pre-Obama.
Well,
And and Rubio said something too that or one of them said something, and I don't know if it's they're trying to scare us or whatever, but they said they're trying to develop technology where they can reach the homeland of the United States. I think they already have it. And you got sleeper cells here. So, and we're nowhere near the shape we were in 9/11. I mean, with,
well, that's my point. You go in and bomb Iran, and you do it to any extent, short of coming up with these little pinpoint bombings that don't really do any damage, just kind of a symbolic thing, which is what he did the first time. The ironic thing is, when he bombed in Iran, you remember what he said? Completely wiped out all their nuclear power, completely gone. And now 8 months later, he's going to bomb them again because they're a week away from nuclear power, nuclear weapons. It's just all a lie. It's all bullshit. It's something that Benjamin Netanyahu is doing and saying, and Donald Trump buys it because he's a fucking dumbass. But here's the problem. You go bomb Iran, whether Russia and China gets involved or not doesn't really, well, it does matter, but that's not the first thing I'm worried about. It's about the sleeper cells you've talked about. It's about the terrorism that we will see in this country. And why it's especially dangerous now, this administration has proved to us that we have literally no national security, none. And there is nobody on the outside that's willing to talk to us because they're afraid we're going to leak it to somebody else. So we're being isolated by Europe and other countries. Uh, the information is getting out because we have dumb fucks passing along information. We are in a very vulnerable spot right now if somebody wants to attack us. And that's what I'm most fearful immediately.
I also think that, a lot of people think of, they think of war, they think of the day after tomorrow. Remember that,
Yeah.
up movie that came out in the early 80s with Jason Robards and all those guys. The next war is going to be done cyber attacks. And people are like, well, you're going to hack my computers. No, power grids.
Yeah.
Good luck to Texas
Water
anyway.
supplies.
It's cyber fucking winter. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. And you see a lot of you see a lot of a lot of the schools now are like really, hyping up. I mean, you can be a cyber analyst without, having a degree and make 100 plus a year because it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And we've been late to the party in doing this because China has been doing this for years. So say Israel get us a win, we can do that. We attack Iran. They blow up the supercells. Who's the biggest hacker out there? It's China.
Yeah.
So what does China do? Well, we'll kill your water here. And you used to think that like a movie like Red Dawn couldn't happen. When the North Koreans attacked him, and we don't got Patrick Swayze anymore, but they could do that. They could be, and who fucking knows what they're planning?
Yeah.
I mean, he went in and he attacked fucking Ukraine. We go in there and we attack Iran. I mean, like we did Venezuela. I mean, who are we to call out other people saying you can't do that? Why can't China invade Pakistan? I mean,
Right.
we're no longer the leader. And I think it's been a long time coming that these countries have been waiting for this. And so if we fall, and I'm not trying to scare people and everything. I'm just saying, canary this scenario, he does that. There's really no reason to do it. I mean, it's like, yeah,
No.
and they want to say, well, it's yeah, all the people they killed. They've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
Look what they did to Iraq.
Yeah.
When they went in there and they did everything. And and there's been video of Trump even on our Twitter saying that, Obama's going to go attack Iran to get, the mind off something. You know what I mean? To declare martial law and not have elections. So everything he bitched about Obama doing, he's doing now.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that's where he gets the idea. Somebody whispers in his ear about a great idea that might be beneficial to him, and immediately he thinks that it's real and he can do it. Here he goes and bombs Iran. Inevitably, we're going to get a response. Do
Mhm.
they do they send missiles into other military installments in the area that are American? Probably. The next thing is the most worrisome. They go bomb Iran. They hit back with whatever their response is. Now we got Donald Trump with his hair on fire making quick decisions to do something crazy. Oh, you're going to do that to me? I'm going to nuke you.
Well,
It may sound crazy, but that's how Donald Trump thinks. He doubles down, he triples down, and his only strategy is to hit back harder. And now we've got a domino effect once that whole thing starts going. If I'm a Republican in the House of the Senate, I'd be worried about this shit because if he does this, the entire Republican Party is going to be considered war hawks, warmongers, and it's not going to play well in this country, especially since we've had, some pretty good times. You can complain about the way they took people out of Afghanistan, but that ain't shit compared to what could happen if he does what he's planning to do.
Not to mention his $1.99 gas going away. Can you imagine if they bomb Iran?
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
shit.
it yeah, and I don't know. You have people like Lindsey Graham, Ladybugs, sitting there in his ear. I mean, it's like they have these like hard-ons to go to war.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause they're not the fucking ones in the front line. It's
right.
the women. You say women, but they ban women from, and if we go into a world war, I guarantee you, they ain't gonna worry about fucking transgender people in a fucking foxhole if he's got your back.
Yeah.
All this shit that we look at now that's important, bathroom bills, and not us, but and that doesn't matter. I mean, it's like the markets, the oil markets will go up. I mean, gas will be on a. I mean, this could hit our mainland, and it'll make 9/11 look like a fucking picnic. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's the
we have
unfortunate thing. I
sleeper
mean,
cells and sleeper cells, and they're just worried about the Somalians, and the brown people, so to speak. I mean, I mean, and honestly, who's going to come to our defense? I mean,
nobody.
be Canada, it ain't gonna look what happened in Mexico this last week where they took out the cartel. You don't think that
Yeah.
can't fucking happen here? Oh, it can.
Oh, it absolutely can. ICE goes into the wrong part of Chicago or the wrong part of Philly, and we've got a fucking war in the streets. Thankfully, they've been too big of cowards to do that. But we are very vulnerable at this point. And if I know that, you know that Iran knows that. You know that Europe knows that. You know that China and Russia. And then they'll be begging for people to fight a war that's been unnecessary. I mean, if you had take a look at Putin right now with what's going on in Ukraine. He's getting people killed all over the place. He's dragging people. If he had a platoon of transgender people, he'd have those fuckers on the front line.
Yeah.
That's desperation mode for Putin, and we could be put in the same situation. The 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 thing about it is with Donald Trump, he's bought into the fact that America and he, the biggest gorilla in the room, and everybody's afraid of him. The sad thing is that's not true. And uh, we had the whole thing with the tariffs being found to be outlawed. Now we've got European countries saying, well, they weren't legal, so we don't really have a deal now. And then Donald Trump comes back with, well, if you don't complete the deal, and the deal was never written on paper, never was a deal in the first place. And these people knew Donald Trump would fuck it up. But if you don't do the deal, we'll put on bigger tariffs. Hey, dumb fuck, they just told you can't. It's just he doesn't know anything. Oh, you don't want to do a deal, then we'll put tariffs on you, even though they told us we can't put tariffs on. He's a goof. He's a fucking embarrassment. And everybody in Europe and everybody in Scandinavia and everybody in Asia, they know he's a fucking idiot. And they're using him to any possible way they can. They're taunting him and they're teasing him and they're going to take advantage of him.
And the thing about it is that, more companies, maybe like FedEx, suing him for that stuff. Was it FedEx that's suing him
Yeah.
for that whatever? But yeah, what gets me, I mean, I know we're kind of, getting Debbie Downer here, but I mean, there's no reason for us to go over there, and that's one
None.
of the things that I supported Trump on is when he said we're going to get out of Afghanistan. But of course, he didn't do the dirty work. He had Biden do it. You
Right.
know what I mean? So of course he blames Biden for all that shit. I remember people like, I can't believe Biden did this. All Biden was doing was cleaning up Trump's mess. And it's like,
Biden was just Biden was just following Donald Trump's plan.
yeah,
And because Donald Trump didn't get reelected, Biden was tasked with doing it. So, I mean, Biden may or may not have
they
done some
probably
things
pushed.
wrong with it, but at least he's the only one in 30 years that got or 20 or 30 years that actually got the people out of there.
Yeah,
George W. Bush put him in there. He could have pulled him out in 6 months. He didn't do it. Obama didn't do it. Trump
yep.
in his first term didn't do it. Only person with balls was Joe Biden, and nobody else wanted to do it because he thought it would hurt them electorally. And it may or may not have had some effect, but at least Biden had the balls to do the right thing.
Yeah, Biden had the balls to do it, and don't make me not believe that, they didn't negotiate it, knowing, hey, in case you use the election, let's do it for the next. They do that shit all the time, the next administration. But they
Yeah,
blamed Biden for that, and they never forgave him for that. And it's like, look at us now, just because he had a bad, you look at, that last State of the Union that Biden did, it was great. He called out
yeah.
Republicans on Social Security. But no, he has one bad thing, and the Democrats tail and run. I saw a thing with about a Democrat getting called out. It was oh God, what's her name? He calls Pocahontas. That
Um,
yeah,
yeah, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren got called out by somebody because Trump was talking about attacking Iran and stopping them, and she was up clapping. And I don't know what the story was. I don't know if it was a Republican or whatever. Because you can't really tell now when it comes to those wars, like, yeah, when somebody attacks you, you got to fight back, but, don't start shit. But he was supposedly saying something about a war, and she got up and clapped and go, a typical Democrat, says you don't want war or whatever. So I don't know if that's true or not, but, if it's kind of like, and it's like that thing with the fucking aliens coming out. I mean, it's like anything he can do to distract, and then
Yeah.
again, whose name was on it before was Obama. And that's the whole fucking reason he went to be president because he couldn't take a joke at the correspondence dinner.
Well, like I told you before, he has trouble anytime he feels like he's been slighted or lost. That's why he's fixated on 2020
Yep.
and why he's fixated on Obama, because Obama fucking embarrassed him in front of that press dinner. Um, he doesn't forget that. They are narcissists are very vengeful, and they never forget when they've been slighted or they've lost or proved to be wrong, and they can't help themselves. They keep going back trying to prove they were right. He is desperate to be thought of as better than Barack Obama, and there's no chance of it. He's desperate to go prove that he actually won in 2020, and he didn't.
No.
But he will waste all his time and his energy trying to right what he sees as a wrong, but he won't be able to do it because it happens to be true and he can't accept it.
Did you see that? I saw a comic strip one time, and it was him in the Oval Office and stuff. And he goes, "I got to get everybody out of the room. I got to get out of the room." And he's there saying, "What's wrong, sir?" And he goes, "I got to go to the bathroom. Biden shit in my pants." Like he blamed Biden for shitting his own pants. So it's like,
I always
whatever.
think of Donald Trump in press conferences. I saw this in a movie one time and I thought it was hilarious. And I can't remember who did it. It might have been Chevy Chase. It might have been somebody like that. But they're sitting around talking. He goes, "Hold on, I have to go to the bathroom." They go, "Okay, go to the bathroom." And he sits there for a second. "Okay, I'm done now."
I thought you were going to talk about the Frank Drebin when he's got the microphone on and he goes in the bathroom and he's pooping and farting and pissing and it's like that. He's got the live mic on at like some kind of police dinner and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good one too. I could see Donald Trump doing doing something like that. So, last thing we're going to talk about because it pisses me off, and it's not as important as all the other stuff. But we had the Olympics. We had the women win the gold medal in hockey. Then we had the men win the gold medal in hockey. And I've told you before, I had a number of friends on the 80 Olympic team that won the gold medal, Miracle on Ice. And that was, if you weren't alive then, you maybe don't understand. That was a time when things were kind of tough in this country with Iran and the hostages and all this stuff and gas and whatever. That was a moment in time that legitimately united the entire country. There was a lot of pride in beating the Russians and then going on to win the gold, largely because they were all just college kids. They
yeah,
weren't pros. So people have always been trying to recapture that excitement, and I don't know that you ever will. I was very excited to see the women win the gold medal. Uh, important thing to understand is they've only been going to the Olympics for the last 30 years. And in those 30 years, they've won a medal every year. They won 3 gold medals, 4 silver medals, and a bronze medal. Now, the U.S. hockey team hasn't won a gold medal for 46 years, and they win this gold medal. People are obviously excited. It's not quite as it's not quite the same thing because basically it was the NHL playing the NHL. It was all pro team, but still, it was great for the Americans to win the gold medal. Everybody's excited about it. Then they go to the locker room, and we're told that they invite in the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. And I don't know if he knew or didn't know that they were videotaping it or he didn't care, but he's in there broing out like a big dipshit, guzzling beer and champagne and screaming like he did something. This is what the Republicans always do. They love to ride the coattails of success so they can attach themselves to something successful. Then they talk to Donald Trump on the phone, and Donald Trump is talking to them, wishing them well, and doing what a president would do. And he did an aside, typical attempt at a joke that goes wrong, and he says, "Well, I suppose we'll have to invite the uh, the women too," and everybody laughs. Seems like a little thing, but that is the epitome of disrespect. The women in Olympic hockey have been far more successful than the men. They deserve a little respect. I'm a big fan of women's hockey, been watching it for years with the Minnesota Gopher team. Some of those girls are on the Olympic team. But to do that, they took a situation where there was a lot of pride in this country and they pretty much shit on it. And they're getting all kinds of pushback. Now, he did invite them to the State of the Union. Okay. And they accepted. But I think it's important to understand not all of them accepted. 20 of them went, 5 stayed home.
You talk
And
about
of those 5, I'm proud to say 4 of them are Minnesotans.
you talk about the men, right? Because the women turned it
Right.
down.
Yeah, the women just flat turned it down, which is what they should have done, regardless of what happened. It's just not a good look. But the men were just too big a dipshits. Big surprise. The men are the dipshits. And they went, but 5 of them didn't go. And as I say, I'm proud to say that 4 of those people were Minnesotans. One of them is a guy named Brock Nelson. And Brock Nelson comes from a history of gold medal winners. His mom, brother is David Christian, who was on the '80 Olympic team, whose father, his great uncle or something, was on the '60 gold medal team. He's a Minnesotan through and through, and he was smart enough to say, "Yeah, no, I don't want to get involved in this. I don't want to go there." But it was frustrating to see that Donald Trump can take a great moment for this country and fucking destroy it.
And I also think there was also the fifth one. Dallas Stars goalie Jake Owentinger skipped the
Yeah,
2026 men's hockey. So Texas too,
yeah,
with his family. I mean, that was obviously an excuse or whatever. So, I mean, thank God his wife had a 3-month-old baby, so he couldn't visit. Right. Good on you, man. So
yeah,
Texas did proud too. I I don't know, man. I also who turned down the president visit was the Seattle Seahawks, and they turned it
yeah.
down.
God bless them.
And I saw a lot of people that are MAGA celebrating, like they did something kind of like Cash Patel. I
Yeah,
saw a lot of like memes of an eagle, like I don't know what the Canadian mascot is, but they are like it's like the Canadian goose. Like this eagle was destroying this Canadian goose. I'm like, it's fucking Canada, dude. I mean,
yeah.
how much of a douchebag are you to fucking hate Canada? And it's just that whole fucking MAGA. It turned me off. I mean, yeah, I was happy for it, yeah, but I'm not real proud of the country right now. You know what I
No,
mean?
I'm not either.
It's going on. It's like I remember when Michelle Obama said something about, well, for the first time in my life, I'm proud of my country. And I remember I didn't vote for Obama. And I remember, and I understood what she meant. You
Yeah.
read the book and you really understand what she meant, shit her and her family went through. But it's like right now, it's like, it's that whole, it's Cash Patel is that whole fucking thing that summarizes everything up. He's that fucking asshole that did nothing to do. He's like you playing beer league and he never played and he gets to win a champion. He's like that, backup quarterback.
Yeah.
He's like that guy that never had anything to do with it. I mean, it's probably, I mean, okay. I take that back. You travel with the team, you're with the team. I get that. Okay, maybe it's not like that, but it's like that. That guy that you never played a thing and out there celebrating. You had nothing to do with the win.
Yeah.
And it's like, and there are people, and the people on the right got kind of pissed off at him too. Well, like one of them came out and said that, he impeded, investigations, but he sets a bad example for people. And there's like, well, what are they going to do? Fire him?
Yeah.
It's like he's doing what Trump does. I mean, it's like, and they even had him a gold medal. They make up a Nobel Peace Prize. FIFA does. They hand him the prize. I mean, that's just I just look at that and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but it's like it's not something that I don't know. And a lot of people, like when your team wins a Super Bowl, and I know it's been a long time, or a championship team or whatever, it's like, we did that. And then honestly, we didn't do it, but you're a fan, you support them and everything. But what Cash Patel did, I mean, that would be like a guy running on a field, and that's the way I look at it. He's an intruder. But
Yeah.
what was the U.S. hockey team supposed to do? Not invite him? I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
on the shit
Yeah.
list,
I agree.
turn down I mean, they had enough people not to go, but they obviously had people turned down. But Trump looks at it like, oh, five didn't go. They must be communist. I mean, and it's just, yeah, he just symbolizes everything that's wrong with that. It's like, it's just like, you have that eagle, devouring a helpless goose. And it's just, you're just a fucking dick. And it's
There,
just,
there was an there was an AI video out there too. I don't know if you
oh
saw
yeah,
this. This was with Donald Trump on skates in his suit playing hockey and then getting in a fight with one of the Canadian. It's so stupid. I tell you this, I in 1979 I was 19 years old and I was covering the Minnesota Gopher hockey team. They won the national championship. I had friends on that team, friends I hung out with every day. They were on that team. After that win against North Dakota, I was on the ice and I was in the locker room. But I just was
yeah.
as respectful as I could be. I was there reporting, congratulating people, but I wasn't acting like I had anything to do with this. Even though I was on the radio team that was covering it, I had nothing to do with this. I'm there because I'm enjoying the experience, but I'm going to be respectful about it and not act like I fucking did something because I didn't. But Cash Patel, but beyond that, then you've got the other part of Cash Patel where they're questioning how he's using resources in the FBI resources, like taking planes to Las Vegas to party, taking his agents and having them give his girlfriend a ride home because she's too drunk to drive, and now going to Milan, Italy. And he said, "Oh no, we planned this way ahead of time. It just worked out this way. We had a lot of business to tend to." Then somebody within the FBI leaked out his itinerary. He had one security meeting. He saw two hockey games. He had three dinners. He was partying all the time. This was just a perk that he thought he deserved because he's the director of the FBI. He's misusing taxpayer funds. It's ironic that Donald Trump would talk about fraud when he's been convicted of 34 times of fraud, when he pardoned 33 fraudsters of major size, and then he lets Cash Patel commit all kinds of fraud. Uh, Fraud is bad as long as it's a Democrat, but if it's a Republican, that's part of the perks.
You're talking about other countries seeing this as a joke. And I saw who's that guy that's ahead of the not Jim Jordan, but the other one was saying, well, you're seeing that in other countries, people being held accountable. Yeah, everywhere but here.
Yeah,
Oh, and and the gig is up on a lot of that shit. And Trump may think the Epstein thing's over, but it's not over. And
Oh
there's gonna
no,
be more shit coming out. And starting a war may be his way of doing it. But if he
that won't
starts
work either.
a lot more fucking problems than what happened 30 years ago. So, but
I tell
he's dumb enough to do it though.
I tell you what, if he thinks that's going to draw the attention away from Jeffrey Epstein, what it's really going to do, if he bombs Iran, it's going to piss people off. And then they're going to be digging harder and they're going to use anything to take him down. If it happens to be Epstein, they'll do it. He's whipping people up into a point, even on his own side. They're going, fuck, man, let's get him out of here. And the Republicans, if they want to get him out of there, they're going to have to destroy him so that they don't lose the base. And the Epstein files are probably the best way to do it.
Well, we talk about America getting attacked and everything. So if we suffer, other nations will suffer. So you're 100% right on that because a lot of
Yeah.
it rely on us. And as much as he's fucked the country up, there's still a lot of stuff that is good that hopefully in November we can help salvage and end this nightmare.
I'm still a firm
For us.
believer that we come out the other side and we will be fine eventually, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time. And people better learn how to be patient because there is no Democrat or group of Democrats that can fix all the damage Donald Trump did in a week's period. It's going to take years to do it. As long as we get on the right path and start doing it, I'll be comfortable. But don't get too impatient because it's going to take a lot of work. We allowed him to do a lot of damage, and it's going to take the best people putting in the hardest work and taking the time to do it.
Well, what's that old Merle Haggard song? If we make it to December, let's make it to
Yeah,
December. The midterms over.
right, exactly. All right, Jace, I'm going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for stopping in tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Um,
Well,
we've
thanks for
got,
having me. I know we've got a few listeners here in Texas. Get out and vote. Go out if you can. If you don't can, I think early voting ends Friday. Get out and vote Tuesday. Let's show this thing. I'll be interested to see how Tony Gonzalez does and how the Crockett and Tallarico thing goes. But whoever wins, Tallarico or Crockett, we got a winner. So it's just like I said, it's just sad they had to run this early.
yeah, it is. It'll be interesting to see if Jasmine Crockett doesn't win, what's her next move? Because after January of 2027, she's out. She's not in Congress anymore. So we'll see what she decides. I have a feeling she'll end up on MSNBC for a period of time until she can run again.
Don't count her out. I'm not.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. For those of you listening, thanks for taking the time to do that. Hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you tomorrow.